The cotton economy and slavery. All right, so what made cotton so desirable is actually a combination of things, sort of a perfect storm that occurred in the 1790s. During this time, America's oldest crops, like tobacco, were depleting farmland and dropping in value. And during the same time, textile industry in Great Britain was exploding thanks to the Industrial Revolution, creating enormous international demand for cotton clothing. Along comes Eli Whitney with his cotton gin. Now, this merely provided the motor for a global economic machine, and slavery was its fuel. While it took a single slave about 10 hours to separate a single pound of fiber from the seeds, a team of 2 or 3 slaves using a cotton gin could produce around 50 pounds of cotton in just one day. Now, everybody was getting a piece of this. We have northern bankers, we have textile factory owners in the north, and we have those who owned the ships that transported the cotton. Everybody was making huge money, right? Huge amount of profit. Everybody was getting a piece of the pie. Cotton utterly transformed the United States, making fertile land from Georgia to Texas extraordinarily valuable. The fact that Native Americans lived on these lands was a temporary inconvenience solved by a policy of Indian removal, the massive replacement of native populations with slave plantations. The Old South wasn't really that old. Plantations appeared in many areas of the Deep South only a few decades before the Civil War. Before that, the South was Native American territory. When the first English began moving in, they began chopping down the trees and expanding the fields available for cotton. The enormous profitability of cotton undermined the principles of the American Revolution and forever altered the lives of African Americans living in this country. The more money the planters made from growing cotton, the more cotton the planters wanted to grow, and that took more slaves. From 1790 to 1810, close to 100,000 slaves moved to the new cotton lands to the west and the south. From 1810 until Civil War, 100,000 slaves were forced westward each decade, about a half million in total. Slaves in the Upper South became incredibly more valuable as commodities. Because of this demand for them in the Deep South, they were sold off in droves. And that created sort of a second Middle Passage. In many ways, the second Middle Passage was just as devastating as the first. To feed what we called King Cotton, to feed King Cotton, more than 1 million African Americans were carried off into the Deep South. That's 2.5 times the number that were brought to the United States from Africa. It was the largest forced migration in American history.